time to unleash the light within. We all go through this life using the mind to direct this life energy, this force of creation that is consciousness. This is how we create our world. We focus on what we desire, and then we give that our energy. Because what we give our energy to, that is what is given life. And wherever we take our attention away from, that is what withers and dies. Because the force of entropy is acting upon everything. And so life is only sustained from our attention. People don't realize that they are creating everything in their reality. That doesn't mean that the tragedies that we experience are all of our fault. It doesn't mean that. But we have to take control over our own selves. And you could see this, think about it in your own life. How often do you think about things that are outside of your control? How often do you ruminate on stories that you can't do anything about? How often do you give your attention to things that don't really even matter? Probably more than you'd like to admit. Because I know that I've been in that situation as well. And I'm human, just like the rest of us. Barely human. And so this is the natural human condition. We are kind of scattered and distracted animals trying to survive. And you see, the more we focus on fear, the more we give our energy and life to fear. And then we wonder why life seems to be so negative. I like to say, if you were to just listen to how somebody speaks for one day, there would be absolutely no question whatsoever why their life is the way it is. Because our words, our thoughts, these create our reality. They're believing things into existence. We're giving our energy towards, a lot of the time, these negative identities. That is where the words and the thoughts come from. We have a certain identity that we believe in, and therefore we use our words to reinforce that belief. So you might say, well, I'm no good. Well, that is just a made-up identity that we are holding on to. Probably because we've been traumatized or conditioned over our whole lives. And so you see, it is not always our fault, but it is our responsibility. Because we have the power, no matter what we have been through, to create anything. This is why many people end up slaves in life, because they have not taken control over their God power. They have not claimed their authority as creators in this life, so they, by default, become slaves or servants to the people who have claimed their power. And there are many people who have claimed their power who wish to focus on their own selfish needs and desires. And this is where a lot of the evil and the tragedy in life comes from. Because a small group of people in power create and design a system to benefit them and to use the bottom as slaves. And so most people, the masses, are kept in unconsciousness and in ignorance so they can remain slaves. And then all the knowledge, all the awareness goes to the top, because knowledge really is power. Knowledge of your true nature. Knowledge of your true role as a creator in this reality. The price of unconsciousness, or the price of ignorance, is death. Ignorance of ourselves. Because we are that life. We are that force of creation. And there is only energy. This entire play of existence is only one consciousness experiencing itself through an infinite array of different forms. Forms that we experience as all the different things. Whether it's the cosmos and the galaxies, or our thoughts, or the people we love. These are all manifestations of God in form. But when you come to realize that you are the manifestation of God, or should I say, the unmanifested, formless aspect of God, that is what we are in truth. When you realize this, you come to understand that you are greater than the entirety of existence. Because that consciousness that we are created all of existence. It is transcendent. But why can't we see this? Why is this not a reality for us? We experience ourselves as just a little entity in a cold, harsh world. But you see, that is why this is a great awakening. Because we are waking up from our animal nature, not running away from it necessarily, but transcending it. An easy way to look at it is through the chakras. The lowest level of unconsciousness, that is our body, is the root chakra. And this involves safety and fear. So those who are operating in the lowest states of unconsciousness, their whole reality, their whole existence is based around fear. They're afraid all the time. Rise a bit into higher consciousness, and you get the sacral chakra. This is the energy center of creativity and sexual energy. People who are stuck in this energy center, their whole life is consumed by lust. And this might just be lust for any kind of temporary pleasure. Perhaps this is where a lot of the self-destructive creatives live, still in this kind of dreamy unconsciousness. And as you rise a bit more, you get into the solar plexus chakra. And this is where a lot of the elites and the most powerful people live. Because in the belly, in this center, this is a source of power. And so the theme of this energy center is power, control, and the ego, the sense of self, sense of identity. Now, this is a more awakened state of consciousness, but it is still quite unconsciousness compared to the higher energy centers. And so people rise up into power, but they use that power and control for their own selfish benefit and enslave others. But the way that the world is shifting is from this ego consciousness of power and control to heart consciousness of love, of compassion. It may not seem like this at the moment, but that is because we have a lot of birthing pains to go. And so in our awakening, we are rising out of these lower animalistic games, and we begin playing a much more transcendent game. A game in which the rewards are love, peace, joy. Because at whatever level of consciousness you are operating at, you will get certain rewards and certain punishments. So for instance, if you have an imbalanced root chakra, your punishment is always being in a state of fear. But then perhaps your reward might be the opposite. You might feel safety, you might feel grounded. So too with the sacral, you might be able to fulfill all of these temporary pleasures, but in the end, you feel empty inside. And perhaps the reward for balancing this chakra is a powerful sense of creativity. When you're operating from ego consciousness, your rewards might be the many riches of the world. You might have all these different things, but again, you will not be fulfilled, because the punishment of people who live only for themselves is they are cut off from the source of life. All they do is consume and take and destroy, and so align themselves with the force of death. But the heart, for instance, when you are operating from heart consciousness, you are in a state of giving. You are in a state of love. You give and give and give expecting nothing in return. And here the rewards is essentially the kingdom of heaven, because you have aligned yourself with your God nature. Because God gives and gives and gives and doesn't need anything from you. And the nature of God is love and peace and joy. And so what we become one with, those are the attributes that we take on. And this brings us back to our original point of where are we allowing our energy to go? Because with our identities, our beliefs, that is what we give our vote to which we want to become. So if you cast your vote by giving your attention toward negativity, you will begin to embody negativity, and you will be a force of negativity around you. This is beyond being a good person or being a bad person. If you give your energy to fear and survival and safety, then you will become one with the animals, and you will live in an animal world. They say a dog-eat-dog world. And so you will fight and scrape and claw your way to the top. Because at every moment, there's somebody who might try and steal your lunch. And so depending on the levels of consciousness that we are operating from, that is the world we will experience. And the more people cast their vote for certain worlds, that is the world that will manifest for all of us. So the Great Awakening is the realization that living from ego consciousness and from these lower animalistic centers, they create so much suffering and pain that this causes us to wake up, to realize that our actions and our behaviors, they're not really working out for us. And you can experience this in your own life. It's just expanded to the collective. Because if you operate from ego long enough, you will realize that nothing satisfies you, and you're always wanting more. It is only until we rise to a heart level of consciousness do we really become fulfilled, because we have become harmonious with life, that life force that gives, that fuels all of existence, that divine intelligence that evolves everything forward. This is the gateway to the divine. And through this gateway we could rise even higher to higher states of consciousness. And so this game of life is essentially leveling up to higher and higher states of consciousness by letting go of our attachments and becoming free from all of these different identities and thought forms and beliefs that are keeping us stuck in lower animalistic states of consciousness. That is the game that we are playing. And we all have our own unique and particular journey that we are going through. And so all of the things that are most specific to you will come to keep you down. But they're not really there to keep you down. They are, think about it this way, what use of a warrior is there without the enemy or without a dragon to slay? A lot of people like to think that demons and all of these bad things, they are to be discarded with and they are to be run away from. But in fact, they are the very mechanism in which we rise to higher states of consciousness. And so what you will find in your own life is that you will continue to repeat the same patterns over and over and over again until you finally learn the lesson that life is trying to teach you. And that lesson is trying to get you to pay attention to where you are attached. Where is that identity that is keeping your energy and your life force focused in the wrong directions? That is what you must find. This is a journey of self-discovery, and there is nothing else greater than this. Take that creative God power within you and focus it on healing yourself, on embarking on a journey of self-discovery, becoming free, becoming more light, loving, and being at peace. Awareness is the cure to unconsciousness. The light is the cure to darkness. So there is no need to fight yourself or fight evil or fight the ugliness within you. Just focus your attention on what is good. Focus your attention on the light, and everything will be taken care of for you automatically.